Incredible young girl's heartwarming act reveals the hidden truth of the town's wealthiest farmer. In the heart of Maple Grove, where cornfields stretched like golden oceans under the Midwestern sun, 12-year-old Ellie was on a mission. As the annual charity event approached, excitement buzzed in the air, but for Ellie, it felt different. It felt heavier. Her parents had always taught her the importance of kindness, and now, more than ever, she felt their lessons burning bright in her heart. The town needed a community center, a place to uplift families struggling to make ends meet. With a spark in her eye and a stack of homemade flyers in hand, she set out to make a difference. Ellie knocked on doors with a smile that could light up the gloomiest day. "Hi. I'm raising funds for our new community center," she chirped, her enthusiasm soaring. But whispers drifted behind her, cold and cutting. "There's that girl again," one sneered, as families betrayed her trust, turning their backs. It stung, like a bee slipping through the air on a hot day, but she pushed onward. Her heart was focused on the dream of a united Maple Grove, a dream worth every bump and bruise. One afternoon, feeling particularly downcast after a string of rejections, Ellie stumbled upon a dusty box in the attic. Inside were letters, forgotten treasures written by the late Mrs. Thorne, the beloved mother of Mr. Thorne, the town's wealthiest farmer. As her fingers ran over yellowed pages filled with heartfelt messages of compassion and unity, hope flourished within her. She realized that beneath Mr. Thorne's curt demeanor, perhaps a flicker of his mother's kindness still lingered. If she could remind him of her legacy, maybe he'd find a reason to care. With determination stronger than before, Ellie approached his grand farm. The sight of it made her heart race. So many acres of corn, all untouched wealth. Taking a deep breath, she walked to his porch. "Mr. Thorne." She trembled but stood tall. "I'm Ellie, and I'm raising funds for our community center." His eyes narrowed. "I can't help you," he retorted, a wall of indifference closing around him. Disappointment pulled at Ellie like a lead weight. But instead of despair, she felt a flicker of understanding. Beneath the hard shell, guilt churned within him, the remnants of his mother's spirit, an invisible tie binding him away from the community she had loved. With the charity event just days away, she couldn't give up. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each knock on another door reignited conversation in town. Parents debated wealth and privilege over dinner tables, questioning their responsibility. Murmurs filled the streets. Could Mr. Thorne, the man who stood alone among his riches, be persuaded to help those less fortunate? Ellie could feel the shift. Hope swirled in the air. What if she could build a bridge? The question pierced through her mind and heart as she stood at the edge of Maple Grove, a community poised just above the precipice of change. Would she be the spark that reignited Mr. Thorne's mother's legacy? Could she open his heart and bring a community together, or would Maple Grove remain divided by the weight of wealth? The days leading up to the charity event felt like ticking clock hands, each second filled with hope and uncertainty. The morning of the charity event dawned bright and clear, the sun shining down like a spotlight on Maple Grove. Ellie felt a bubble of excitement rise in her chest, but alongside it, nerves danced in her stomach. She had worked tirelessly over the past few weeks, talking to neighbors, baking goods for the bake sale, and calling in every favor she could muster. The community center was so close, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something crucial was missing. As she arrived at the park, the scent of freshly mowed grass filled her lungs. Colorful banners fluttered in the gentle breeze as townsfolk set up booths. Ellie's heart surged with pride. This was a gathering of love, a celebration of the spirit that tied Maple Grove together. Yet, she couldn't ignore the emptiness of one glaring absence: Mr. Thorne. "Ellie! There you are!" called her best friend Mia, waving excitedly. She ran over, a handful of cupcakes in her hand. Are you ready for the big day? Ellie smiled, forcing down her worries. I just hope Mr. Thorne shows up. We need him. Mia's brow furrowed. Do you really think he will? I have to believe he will, Ellie replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt that as the event kicked off. Ellie flitted from booth to booth, soaking in the laughter and chatter around her. She watched families playing games and children running with painted faces, joy radiating from every corner. Yet, the moment of truth loomed larger, the unfulfilled promise of reaching Mr. Thorne weighing heavily in the back of her mind. Then came a sudden hush across the park. All heads turned toward the entrance, and Ellie's heart skipped a beat. There, silhouetted against the sun, stood Mr. Thorne. He looked tense, arms crossed tight across his chest, surveying the bustling crowd like a visitor from another world. Go talk to him. Mia urged, prodding Ellie forward. Wait, what if he doesn't want to talk? Ellie hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. Just be honest. You're amazing at that. Mia encouraged, nudging her once more. Taking a deep breath, Ellie made her way through the crowd. Each step felt heavy, like wading through water, but determination propelled her onward. Finally reaching him, she gathered her courage. Mr. Thorne. He turned to her, his expression a mixture of surprise and resignation. Ellie. I'm so glad you came, she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling inside her. The community center, it's really important to all of us. We wanted to bring everyone together. He studied her for a moment, and the distance in his eyes softened just a fraction. You really think I could help? I know you could, she replied earnestly. Your mom, she believed in kindness and giving back. It's what she taught all of us. Maybe this is your chance to honor her memory. Mr. Thorne's features tightened for a split second, as if her words struck a deep chord. Ellie noticed the slight tremor in his hands. Ellie, you don't understand, he began, but she interrupted gently. Please, just think about it, she urged, feeling a spark of hope ignite in her chest. We all need you. You are already so important to the town, but you could be even more. As he opened his mouth to respond, the sudden sounds of laughter and cheers swelled around them, almost drowning out the conversation. Ellie watched his gaze shift from her to the families gathered, their faces filled with joy. Maybe this is the beginning of something, he said slowly, letting the words hang between them, so full of possibilities, and just as Ellie felt a rush of relief, another voice echoed from behind. Hey, Mr. Thorne, we need your help with the games. Ellie's heart sank slightly. The moment had seemed so promising, yet here she was, tugged back into the chaos of it all. What'll you do now? Mia whispered, concern flaring in her eyes, realizing that her chance might slip away. Ellie took a step closer, her voice firm, I'll be right here waiting for your answer. The clock was ticking, and as Ellie stepped back, the weight of the moment pressed heavier than before. What would he decide? Would he embrace his mother's legacy or remain locked away in his tower of riches? With the sun dipping low in the sky, Ellie stood among the laughter, feeling both hope and fear swirl inside her. Now, more than ever, she needed him to unlock a future for all. Would this day end with a ripple of unity, or would hearts remain closed? As twilight settled in, the question hung in the air, thick with anticipation. What choice would Mr. Thorne make in the end? As the cheerful noise of the event swelled around them, Ellie stood her ground, a knot tightening in her stomach. Watching Mr. Thorne, with his rigid posture and furrowed brow, she sensed the battle he was fighting within himself. The voices of children laughing and adults reminiscing fell away, replaced by the beat of her own anxious heart. Ellie, come on, let us go help. Mia pulled at her sleeve, momentarily breaking the spell. But Ellie couldn't tear her gaze from Mr. Thorne. Just give me a minute, she replied, her voice steady. The distance between them felt like a canyon, and with every passing second, Ellie worried that this precious moment might slip away. She could see it now, the weight of expectations resting heavily on Mr. Thorne's shoulders. Yet, deep down, she believed there was a flicker of connection, a remnant of hope that could be kindled. The sound of laughter erupted again, and Mr. Thorne turned ever so slightly toward the kids playing tug-of-war at the edge of the park. For a split second, his eyes softened, revealing a trace of longing. A flash of warmth washed over Ellie, as she was reminded of the joy that came from community and belonging. "Why are you so hard on yourself?" Ellie spoke up, suddenly more confident. "People aren't expecting you to be perfect. They just want you to be there to share those moments with them." He turned back to her, surprise etched in the lines of his forehead. "I don't know how to do that," he admitted, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. "You don't have to start big," she encouraged gently. "Just being here is a start. You can dip your toes in. Talk to people. Help out. Your mom always remembered the little things. That's what made her special." Mr. Thorne opened his mouth, but then closed it again. Ellie could see the gears turning in his mind. "Listen, this isn't just about me or my mom," he said quietly. "I've shied away from this for so long. Being involved means opening old wounds. I'm not sure I can do it." The weight of his words hung in the air, raw and heavy. Ellie felt a pang of empathy. Pain wasn't something easily shed. But maybe, just maybe, it could be transformed into something beautiful. "Everyone here is willing to support you," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "I can't promise it will be easy, but I can promise it will be worth it. You'd be surprised how healing it can be." For a moment, they simply stood together, words hanging between them. The music from the event wrapped around them, a backdrop to the possibility of change. "You really believe that?" he asked, searching her eyes. "I do," she replied, her conviction unwavering. "And I'll be right here with you every step of the way. Just take that first step." The voice calling for him to help with the games faded away, leaving behind a moment thick with uncertainty yet brimming with potential. "I'll think about it," he finally said, and for the first time, a small, hesitant smile broke through his serious facade. "I can work with that," Ellie brightened, relief washing over her. But before she could say anything more, a child ran up to Mr. Thorne, tugging on his sleeve, excitement bursting from them as they exclaimed, "Mr. Thorne! You've got to come see the pie-eating contest. It's hilarious." She couldn't help but chuckle, the innocence of that moment cutting through the lingering tension. Mr. Thorne glanced at Ellie, a new light in his eyes. "Maybe I should check it out, huh?" "Yes. Go, enjoy. We'll talk more later," she encouraged, stepping back as the atmosphere shifted. As he walked away, Ellie felt a familiarity, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, this was the turning point for both of them. Mia joined her side, her eyes wide. "Did you see that?" He actually smiled. Ellie nodded, heart racing with emotion. "It feels like we are closer to breaking the ice." "Close, but not there yet," Mia warned, glancing back at Mr. Thorne now mixed in with the crowd. "We have to make sure this isn't just a one-time deal." With that realization settling heavily, Ellie turned her focus back to the gathering, a new energy buzzing through her. "I know we have to keep pushing, but at least it feels like he wants to try." The sun sank lower, casting long shadows over the park, echoing a sense of urgency that crept into Ellie's mind. What did tomorrow hold if Mr. Thorne didn't fully embrace what she dared to believe could be a new beginning? A distant cloud loomed above, indistinct yet threatening. Would tomorrow reveal unity, or would the uncertain path lead to old bitterness? As the playful shouts of children filled the air, Ellie watched Mr. Thorne vanish into the throng of laughter and amazed faces. Her heart still pounded from their moment, a blend of excitement and anxiety swirling within her. She could hardly believe that he had smiled and agreed to think about stepping out of his shadow. "Do you think he'll really go through with it?" Mia asked, breaking the spell of Ellie's thoughts. "Honestly? I hope so," Ellie replied, her eyes darting toward the jovial scene where Mr. Thorne had been pulled away. She yearned to follow him, to see him experience what she felt was waiting just beneath his guarded exterior. The bright colors of the carnival decorations danced in the warm light of evening, but an uneasiness lingered, softly tugging at the corners of her heart. With each laugh and every cheer, she couldn't shake the worry that tomorrow would bring a return to the fortress he had built around himself. Mia nudged her shoulder playfully. "See, Mon. We should at least get a glimpse of that pie-eating contest. It's supposed to be a riot." With a gentle push, Ellie moved forward, her feet following the rhythm of festivity and her mind still occupied with Mr. Thorne. She found herself hoping he was shedding his reluctance along with the layers of his past. As they reached the center of the park, crowds of people gathered, their excitement creating a vibrant energy that was hard to resist. Ellie spotted groups of families, friends, and neighbors all enjoying the festivities together. The simple joy radiated warmth, each smile a promise of connection. Even the pie-eating contest felt like a celebration of life, of laughter, and of overcoming struggles, no matter how small. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Thorne. He stood somewhat detached from the crowd, but the way he leaned forward to witness the chaos made her breath hitch. For the first time, he looked genuinely intrigued and intent. "Look!" she whispered to Mia, pulling her gaze over to where Mr. Thorne was standing. "He's watching." They both held their breath as they observed him. The children were gooping up their faces with whipped cream and pie filling, gleefully shouting at each other to eat faster. The laughter that erupted from the audience was infectious, and for a moment, it felt like Mr. Thorne was part of something bigger. "Do you think we should go over?" Mia suggested, her eyes wide with excitement. "I don't want to push him too fast," Ellie murmured, her heart fluttering. She wanted to let the moment unfold a bit longer, hopeful that he would choose to step forward on his own, but just then, a commotion broke out among the crowd. A verbal spat erupted between two adults arguing about who had cheated in the contest. Tensions flared into a brief but heated exchange. Ellie's heart sank. Would this be the thing that drove Mr. Thorne back into his shell, back to his isolation? But surprisingly, Mr. Thorne spoke up, calling out to the bickering adults. "Hey, why don't we let this one slide? It's about having fun today, right?" His voice cut through the tension, steady and confident. Ellie's heart soared. There he was, stepping into the light. The crowd gradually shifted, laughter bubbling up again as the adults sheepishly grinned and apologized, a wave of relief washing over the gathering. "Wow, he really did it," Mia said, her jaw dropping slightly in disbelief. "Ellie, I think he just needs that little nudge to realize he belongs here." Ellie's eyes sparkled with hope. Maybe he's already realizing it. Just when she thought it couldn't get any better, Mr. Thorne turned away from the ruckus, and spotting Ellie, he waved her over. "Ellie! You have to see this chaos." Holding her breath, she shared a glance with Mia, who flashed her a look of encouragement. "Go on." Mia nudged her. As Ellie approached, she felt a sense of warmth enveloping her, and electricity thrumming between them. This could be the moment that begins everything, but just as she reached him, a shadow passed over them, and the sun dipped lower. Ellie's breath caught as she turned, catching sight of figures approaching, unfamiliar and ominous. The air thickened with uncertainty, a sudden chill interrupting the warmth of the event. "Who are they?" Ellie whispered, her heart racing again as dread settled in her stomach. Would their arrival disrupt the fragile moment Mr. Thorne had just stepped into? Would it pull him back into the darkness he fought so hard to escape? As she gazed at the horizon of familiar faces mixed with the newcomers, the potential for change dangled precariously in the air. The newcomers moved forward, their presence contrasting sharply with the vibrant festival around them. Ellie's heart hammered as she tried to make out their faces. The group was led by a tall, imposing man in a tailored suit, whose authoritative demeanor hinted that he was no stranger to control. The look on his face was unsettling, and Ellie instinctively took a step back. "Ellie, are you okay?" Mia whispered, casting concerned glances toward the approaching group. "Not really," Ellie replied, unable to tear her gaze away. She could feel her stomach twisting into knots. What did they want? Why now? Maybe they're just lost, Mia suggested weakly, but Ellie could see the doubt in her friend's eyes. The man scanned the crowd with a predatory gaze, and Ellie's chest tightened. Then, his gaze landed on Mr. Thorne, and he smirked. There you are. Just the person we were looking for, he announced, his voice cutting through the festivity like a knife. Ellie felt the atmosphere shift as people turned to stare, the joyful noise dimming to whispers. A ripple of unease flowed through the crowd. Mr. Thorne stiffened, the light that had danced in his eyes moments before fading. He glanced at Ellie, then seemed to straighten himself, his posture hardening as if bracing for an unseen storm. Excuse me. Mr. Thorne replied, his voice steadier than how he looked. Ellie admired the way he spoke, but her heart sank. This was not the light-hearted Mr. Thorne who had just bridged the chasm of his shyness. This was the man who was being called out and scrutinized. We need to talk about the land, Thorne. Also about your recent absence from the community, the man said, his words dripping with condescension. The crowd buzzed, each murmur crackling like static electricity in the air. Ellie's palms felt sweaty, her mind racing. What could this man want? Why was he addressing Mr. Thorne in such a demeaning way? She could already see faces in the crowd filled with curiosity and suspicion. Would they misunderstand Mr. Thorne once again? Can't this wait? Mr. Thorne asked, trying to hold on to the sense of normalcy that the carnival had provided. It's a celebration. Not for the likes of you, the man retorted coldly. The word you hung in the air, heavy and accusatory, a stark reminder of the class differences that marked their town. Ellie felt a surge of protectiveness for Mr. Thorne. She couldn't let this moment crush the progress he had made, couldn't allow his past shadows to creep back in. She glanced at Mia, who was watching her intently, as if waiting for a signal. And then it hit her, a spark of courage ignited within her. Hey! Excuse me. Ellie called out, her voice carrying across the now silent crowd. The eyes of every festival-goer turned toward her, and she felt her heart leap into her throat. This is a time for celebration. Mr. Thorne just helped everyone enjoy the pie-eating contest. He's trying, just like all of us. The crowd murmured in response, the tension crackling in the air. Mr. Thorne's gaze flashed to her, surprise dancing in his eyes. Ellie held his look, willing him to feel the support around him. She was going to let fear snuff out the light he had just begun to embrace. Yeah. Leave him alone. Someone from the crowd shouted, echoing Ellie's sentiments. Support rippling through the gathered faces like waves in a pond. The man in the suit's jaw tightened, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his demeanor. Ellie seized the moment, stepping forward, her heart racing but resolute. He deserves a chance to be part of this community, just like everyone else. The mixture of bravery and vulnerability in her words held the crowd captive, even as fearful glances darted among them. Would this help? Would this demand for acceptance pave the way for Mr. Thorne to truly join them? The tall man sneered, then turned to the crowd, struggling to maintain an air of authority. You really want to trust him? What do you really know about him? Ellie felt the wind shift. Would this confrontation break them, or could it strengthen the bond forming between her and Mr. Thorne? As the tension thickened, heavy with unspoken words and expectations, the sun dipped lower still, bathing them all in an early twilight glow. It was a moment of reckoning, each heart in the crowd hanging in the balance. In that charged silence, Ellie realized something. It wasn't just Mr. Thorne standing at a crossroads, but the entire community. What would they choose, to embrace someone flawed or to allow fear to dictate their actions? The unanswered question surged through her, a tight knot in her chest. Just then, Mr. Thorne took a measured breath, his eyes glinting in the fading light. As the crowd awaited his response, Ellie clung to hope. Would he rise or retreat? The moment hung suspended, filled with possibility and fear. Mr. Thorne's breath seemed to echo in the quiet as he took a short step forward, the imposing figure in the suit looking down at him with a smirk that felt cold and mocking. But it wasn't he that smirked that hung in the air, it was the tension, laden with unspoken truths and hidden hurts. Ellie's heart thumped in her chest, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as if the entire festival had faded away, leaving just the two men and the weight of the crowd's anticipation. "I may not be perfect," Mr. Thorne began, his voice low but steady, "but I've been trying to make a difference here, just like everyone else." There was a tremor in his tone, but he pressed on. "I may have stepped back for a time, but I'm here now. I want to be a part of this community. Don't we all deserve a chance?" Ellie could see his hands clench and unclench by his sides. Each word he spoke felt like the unveiling of deeper layers of his silence. She wanted to reach out, to hold his hand, to stand with him against the scrutinizing gaze of the man in the suit. But she stood firm, projecting courage as best as she could from where she was. The crowd exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement while others still held reservation. "He's right," shouted a voice from the back. "Everyone deserves a fresh start." Ellie's breath caught. Someone else stood beside Mr. Thorne, their words like bricks supporting the fragile wall that higher voices tried to push down. The trickle of encouragement turned into a steady stream. As people began to vocalize their thoughts championing acceptance and community, Ellie felt her stomach unclench just a little bit. The man in the suit shifted his weight, a slight frown replacing his earlier confidence. "You think this is some redemption story?" he shot back, though his voice wavered. "You don't know the whole truth. He left this town, and there are reasons." Ellie's heart raced. There was something more buried in this exchange, something dark lurking beneath the surface. "What reasons?" she called out, a spirit of defiance filling her. "Everyone deserves to be heard. What is your reason for not wanting him here?" A ripple of murmurs swirled through the crowd as curiosity hung in the air. Mr. Thorne's eyes flickered, shadows of old pain mixed with newfound hope. "Do you really want to know?" the man in the suit said, amusement mingling with shadows of doubt. "What if I told you the truth is a lot darker than you think?" Ellie's mind raced. She felt the weight of the moment. Would knowing the truth empower them or shatter the fragile bonds they were building? Mr. Thorne's expression darkened. "The past is what I'm trying to move beyond. Whatever I did, it doesn't define me now." His voice grew a bit louder, each word punctuating his resolve. "If I fail, then it's my journey. Not yours to dictate." Distant fireworks erupted in the evening sky, casting bright colors across their faces, but the tension still held tightly. The man in the suit faltered, uncertainty flickering in his eyes as he looked around, weighing the responses of the crowd. "Whatever happened, it's in the past. Let us not allow fear to define our future," Ellie added gently, but firmly. Her gaze shifted among the crowd, she could see a shift in energy, hope sparking in hesitant faces. "Maybe it's time we let the past go and focus on building something together," she suggested. For a moment, the world around them seemed to blur, a collective heartbeat that pulsed through the crowd. Would they stand together as a community, or allow suspicion to pull them apart once more? The man in the suit opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, Mr. Thorne stepped forward. "No more hiding," he said fiercely, eyes blazing with a newfound light. "I will face whatever comes. All I ask is your trust. I will prove worthy." Ellie felt a surge of admiration for him, a rush of belief intertwined with her own vulnerability. As the crowd's murmurs grew more loud, it felt like the dawning of a new chapter, one ripe with change. But deep within, Ellie sensed that the truth, whatever it entailed, was still waiting to be revealed. And against the backdrop of the sparkler-lit sky, she whispered a silent prayer for strength and clarity. What were the hidden truths that would emerge? Would the community's embrace hold firm against whatever storm may come? The tattoos of sparkling light from the fireworks still lingered in the sky, their glow reflecting on the faces of the crowd. A growing murmur pulsed through the festival grounds, each person navigating the emotions swirling around Mr. Thorne's bold declaration. Ellie could feel the weight of expectation building as she scanned the audience, eyes flickered with curiosity and fear, while a glimmer of hope started weaving its way through them. "Will you truly give him a chance?" The voice from earlier called out again, shaking with emotion. "Let us not be defined by our past mistakes." Ellie turned to Mr. Thorne, his jaw set and expression firm, but she noticed the slight tremor in his hand. He was vulnerable, yet unyielding. The air hung heavy, saturated with uncertainty and possibility. Among the flickering lights, she saw an elderly woman, Mrs. Hargrove, whose storied disdain for Mr. Thorne was woven into the fabric of the town's legends. This was the moment for her, too. "Forgiveness isn't easy," Mrs. Hargrove began, cracking her voice slightly. "But I believe in redemption." The crowd quieted as she spoke, every word hanging weightily in the air. "We've all made mistakes. It's time we remember that." A feeling of unity rippled through the crowd, an invisible thread pulling them closer together. It was mesmerizing, watching the barriers between past grievances break in real time. Ellie felt her heart swell, awash with hope. Encouraged, she stepped forward, her voice ringing out with a clarity that surprised even her. "If we don't trust one another, then we're just building walls." It wasn't just a plea, it was a battle cry. "Let us break down these barriers instead." Mr. Thorne caught her eye, and a flicker of gratitude passed between them. She was not just advocating for him, it felt like they were fighting for the town itself. Without missing a beat, another voice erupted from behind. "But we need to know what really happened. We can't just brush the past under the rug." This came from a young man named Jake, his demeanor always challenging. "What if he hasn't changed at all? Then let him prove it." Ellie shot back, empowered by the rising tide of shared resolution. "Isn't that part of community? We learn, we grow, and we give one another the chance to reveal who we really are. I believe Mr. Thorne wants that chance." The man in the suit, caught off guard by the shifting mood, adjusted his stance, searching for the right words. "You're making a mistake, all of you," he retorted. "You have no idea how deep the darkness goes." "Then light the way," Ellie challenged, breathless with anticipation. "Show us the truth instead of hiding in the shadows." A palpable silence followed her words, charged with a mix of tension and bravery. The murmur of the crowd quieted into an intense expectancy, eyes fixed on Mr. Thorne. His chest heaved as if preparing to unveil the raw truth at last. Just as he began to speak, there was a crash of fireworks in the distance, briefly drowning out the moment. The crowd collectively turned, lost in the colors bursting across the sky, an instant of distraction amidst the collective charge of the night. Ellie, however, was focused on Mr. Thorne. She saw his resolve flicker, a hint of doubt breaking through the walls of his newfound confidence. What would he reveal? Would he finally lay bare the truth he had hidden for so long? "Ellie," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. She leaned closer, every heartbeat punctuating the moment. "What if the truth shatters us all?" As she opened her mouth to respond, her heart raced wildly. The crowd ebbed and flowed like a restless sea, and she realized they weren't just waiting for Mr. Thorne, they were waiting for a reckoning. Would the town stand united, or would revealing the past deepen the fractures still unseen? Above them, the sky erupted with color, a vivid reminder of what could be, but was it enough to face the darkness that might come? The moment hung thick in the air, a fragile thread holding everyone's breath. The cacophony of light and sound dissolved into a distant echo, leaving only an electric silence. Ellie felt Mr. Thorne's anxiety seep into her bones, amplifying her own fears. She stepped closer, driven not just by a desire for answers, but by the weight of the collective hope teetering on the edge of despair. "Mr. Thorne," her voice broke through the quiet like an urgent plea. "You can't hide anymore. The town deserves to know, and so do you. It's time." As she spoke, she noticed the crowd shifting. Some exchanged glances, others fidgeted, and a few even nodded in understanding. Mr. Thorne's eyes darted around, seeking refuge, but Ellie stood firm, unyielding. There was no retreating now. The air quaked as he inhaled, and Ellie saw it, something shifting deep within him. The tension bled out, his shoulders slumping slightly. You all want to know the truth. He finally looked at the crowd, his voice gaining strength. I can't promise it won't hurt. Tell us. Came the spirited cry from Mrs. Hargrove, her voice still imbued with surprising strength. The crowd's sentiment rallied behind her. Mr. Thorne glanced at Ellie, his eyes searching hers for assurance. She offered a nod, encouraging him to continue. Years ago, he began, his voice steadying, I was responsible for a tragedy that altered our town forever. I thought I could bury it, but I see now that the weight of this secret has hurt every one of us, including myself. A shockwave rippled through the audience, disbelief wrestling with intrigue. Ellie felt her own heart race, fluttering with empathy and trepidation. She couldn't imagine what pain he was revisiting, but she could sense its undeniable gravity. I was a different man back then, Mr. Thorne continued, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. And in my greed, in my arrogance, lives were lost. Families were torn apart. His voice trembled, but he pressed on. I've spent years trying to atone, to do good where I once did bad. But I see now that for most of you, I've just been a ghost. Ellie stood frozen, heart in her throat. The truth was raw and jagged, like shattered glass. The crowd murmured, aghast, but she felt a swell of admiration for Mr. Thorne's courage. He was facing the very demons he had hidden for so long. What happened? Jake pressed, the earlier challenge now melted into curiosity. Tell us what you did. Before Mr. Thorne could respond, the tension snapped back into chaos. A woman in the front cried out, what does this mean for us? If you're responsible, can we trust you? Her words cut like a knife, potent and demanding. Ellie's heart sank. She turned to Mr. Thorne, fearing the answered question, dreading the potential backlash. But something deep inside knew this was necessary. It felt like a storm brewing, and they might drown or find a way through the torrents together. I have to make amends, he said, voice cracking. If you can bear to listen. The tumult of emotions erupted as people scrambled to share their own grievances. Each voice layered upon the other, creating a cacophony of hurt and betrayal, but also of hope. Would this revelation unite them or drive them further apart? Then, in the middle of the chaos, a little girl held tightly to her mother's hand, her wide eyes shining with innocence. Can we believe him? She asked, her voice cutting through the noise. If he is sorry, can't we start over? A hush fell, like a spell cast over the crowd. Ellie felt it, hope sweeping through like a gentle breeze. Maybe a fresh start was possible. As she looked up at Mr. Thorne, she saw the possibility of redemption in his eyes. This was not just about him, it was about them all. What would they choose to do with this new truth? But just as the crowd began to soften, ready to absorb the moment, a figure stepped forward from the back, shadowed and ominous. The tension returned, thick and suffocating. You're all fools if you trust him. The figure shouted, eyes aflame. You have no idea what he is really planning. Ellie's stomach dropped. The reckoning wasn't over. It had only just begun. The figure stepped into the dim glow of the lights, a face etched with anger and skepticism. Ellie recognized him instantly. It was Carl, the town's mechanic, known for his blunt honesty and sharp tongue. The crowd shifted again, whispers swirling as unease crept back in. Good intentions don't erase what's done. Carl roared, his voice cutting through the murmurs. Do you really think he can just say he is sorry and expect us to believe him? We'll only end up hurt again. Mr. Thorne's expression darkened, but Ellie saw the flicker of determination. He opened his mouth, ready to respond, but the momentum had shifted. Carl took another step forward, fists clenched at his sides, eyes blazing with fury. You think you can just waltz back into our lives and drop your truth bomb like it's nothing? Carl challenged, glaring at Mr. Thorne, digging deeper. What does it matter if you apologize? We lost everything, our homes, our friends. You're not a victim, you're the cause of our pain. The air thickened, Ellie could feel the anticipation crackling around her. She could see the divide in the crowd, their expressions ranged from recovering hope to festering resentment. Ellie stepped in, her heart racing. "Carl, please. This is the moment we have to decide what kind of town we want to be," she implored, her voice trembling but earnest. "Decide?" He sneered. "You call this a decision? This man brought tragedy to our lives. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing." "Enough." Mr. Thorne's voice broke through, powerful and raw. "You're right. I can't take back the past, and I wouldn't expect you to trust me just because I say so. But I'm here to make things right, starting now. I don't want your forgiveness, I want to show you I can change." A breathless silence followed, everyone hanging on the precipice of a choice. Mr. Thorne's hands shook slightly as he continued. "I'll expose the truth of what happened, not just to relieve my own guilt, but to honor those we lost. I owe it to them, to all of you." A ripple of emotion spread through the crowd, some moved, others still skeptical. It was a gamble, and Ellie could feel the stakes rising. Just as it seemed the crowd might soften, Carl shook his head, biting back anger and disbelief. "Words are just words, and they mean nothing. Prove it, Thorne. Prove you're not hiding another lie." "I will," Mr. Thorne replied, firm and unwavering. "But I need your help. I can't do this alone." Ellie felt the weight of his plea settle in her heart. This was the moment they all had been waiting for, an opening to confront the darkness together. But she also felt Carl's challenge loom over them, a dark cloud threatening to eclipse their chance for redemption. Suddenly, the little girl who had spoken moments earlier, released her mother's hand and approached Mr. Thorne. Her big eyes shone with determination. "Why don't we make a plan? Together. If you really want to fix things, then let us fix them. We can help you." The crowd rumbled again, uncertainty tugging at their hearts. Ellie felt inspiration surge. "She's right. We can create a committee to help air the truths, bring awareness to the pain, and help find solutions together. Let the rebuilding start with us." The murmurs shifted. Could this really work? Hope flickered in the shadows, but skepticism remained. Would they truly trust Mr. Thorne, or would the past hold them hostage forever? As the crowd weighed their options, Carl's voice rose once more, challenging them all, his suspicion casting a long shadow. "Can we really trust a man who brought us heartbreak? Or is this just another ruse?" Ellie's heart raced, the air charged with tension again. She needed a plan, something to anchor the trust where doubt threatened to unravel everything. But how could they unite to confront their past and pave a new way forward, despite the lingering shadows? Or would Carl's warnings hold them all back, drowning any hope before it could take flight? With the air thick with anticipation, Ellie could sense the whispers of doubt rising like waves crashing against the shore. The sunset's warm glow reflected hope, yet shadows loomed large over Maple Grove. All eyes turned from Mr. Thorne to Ellie, awaiting a resolution, a spark of unity amidst the conflict. Taking a deep breath, Ellie stepped forward, instinct guiding her. "We all have stories," she declared, her voice cutting through the murmur. "We're not just defined by what happened, but by how we move forward together. Mr. Thorne wants to change, and maybe this is our chance to hold on to that. I say we give him the chance to show us." The hesitation in the crowd seemed to waver, flickers of understanding igniting curiosity. The little girl beside Mr. Thorne nodded, her innocent faith shining through. "We can help. We can be part of making things better." Ellie's heart swelled. "Exactly. This is about more than one person, it's about all of us. Let us reconnect with one another, address our fears together, and find healing. It won't be easy, but we can take it step by step." The crowd began to come alive with murmurs of agreement. Eyes filled with uncertainty began to shift toward hope, small nods rippling through the group like an encouraging wave. But Carl, fierce and unyielding, still held a position of scrutiny. "Trust is earned, Ellie," he countered, yet his tone had softened. How can we make sure he has truly changed? In that moment, Ellie felt a weight on her shoulders, a deep realization that it wasn't just Mr. Thorne who needed to transform. It was the entire town. Let us craft a plan, she proposed passionately. Let us hold a community meeting where we can talk openly. No secrets, just conversations about our fears and our stories. Everyone should have a voice. Mrs. Hargrove stepped forward, her determination resonating with Ellie. I'll help, too. We can create a safe space for people to share. We all want to heal. The fear began to unblock hope, it flowed like sunlight spilling through darkness. The crowd's energy shifted, community spirit rekindled. Ellie turned to Mr. Thorne. Will you help us lead this? Gather your resources and transparency. Let us unveil the past together, so the community can choose how to rebuild. His gaze met hers with the intensity of a man reborn. Yes. I promise I will be open, he affirmed, firm and resolute. The shadows of his past might haunt him, but in that moment, he was ready to walk into the light. The crowd rumbled, some voices enthusiastic while others remained apprehensive, yet the pathway seemed clearer. This could transform them all. Carl observed, skepticism still dancing in his eyes, but the glimmer of curiosity flickered with a hint of interest. And what if this fails? What if trust is too far out of reach? Ellie smiled, warmth bubbling from within. Then we'll keep reaching. We'll talk again, we'll keep building, and we'll mend what's broken. It won't happen overnight, but we won't give up on each other. A ripple of affirmation washed over the crowd as acceptance settled in. It sounds like a plan, someone called, slowly breaking into applause. It began tentatively, but as more joined in, Ellie felt the collective spirit rising, a testament to resilience. As the clapping echoed through the park, Mr. Thorne stepped forward and, for the first time, faced the community with strength instead of fear. Thank you for this chance, he said, voice quivering with emotion. I can't change the past, but I want to forge a new future, together. The fireworks cast bright colors overhead, twinkling like stars against the deepening night sky. The laughter and joy of the festival resumed, resonating around them, binding everyone in newfound possibility. Ellie felt tears of joy brim her eyes. They could do this together. The journey wouldn't be without challenges, but the journey had begun, and each step would be taken hand in hand. In that moment, she understood, the cracks running deep through Maple Grove were not barriers but paths to healing. They stood, a community reborn. As the night faded, Ellie knew this was just the start, a bright dawn on the horizon, and with that shining hope, don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Can you feel the excitement? Let us keep building this community together.